and we will begin the meeting. I will call on Mr. Cal Marker as the county manager, and we have 4 commissioners here, and we'll start the meeting now. Mark, she's here.
Thank you, Commissioner. I want to thank Angela, BMO, and all the directors for working really hard this year on the budget. And thank all of you all commissioners for, continuing to remind us inflation and the upcoming economic situation is uncertain. We've seen project and capital costs go up 30 to 50%. Road, sewer, and facility projects. Same material costs such as asphalt go up to 50%. So with that in mind, Angela has held us to a very firm, conservative budget approach, and the balanced budget you have was kind of done with all that in mind. I thank the directors for working hard to kind of help make that happen. Also, one of the most important things we have to do this year, as you all are well aware of, as you stay on top of and stay on top of me each day and each week, is our sewer refinance. So we really wanted to make sure we kept our financial picture as strong as it possibly can be, so that we can get keep our ratings up. Angela has helped us exceed our goals in our emergency reserves. You all set a goal of 16%. I think we're close to 19%, and our fund balance percentage is above that goal as well. So this budget captures that. Our operational budgets, we tried to hold it the same as what they were last year, and also I want to thank all the departments for working with us and create what I call a master process chart, so that eventually we know what service they're producing with the budget, how much it costs, how much time it should take, how many people should take, and so on and so forth. So I appreciate all the directors working to get those done, so that when we go throughout this year, we'll be measuring our work and trying to become more efficient. And lastly, our most important asset, as well as our infrastructure, is our employees. And input from you all, thank you all. We have put a 5% COLA in the budget, which will help us maintain and hire really good employees. So those are just kind of a highlight of where we're coming from. Really kind of a boring budget process, because we really tried to hold steady going into this uncertain year. And with that, Angela, CFO, is here. We have all the directors here. I hope can answer any questions you have. And I'll turn it over to Angela.
I just want to reiterate what you said about the process. I think the process has worked well this year. I think it's got to where it was a little bit discombobulated before. I like the way we've done it this year. Y'all done a great job, the whole team. And Angela and your team, y'all done well. Marilyn, Lena, thank y'all for what you've done. And we'd be remiss if we didn't thank our old legal team, because they have to keep an eye out on us and watch over us, keep us in the right path. So I appreciate that too. But also that we have committed to the employees for the 5% COLA, which is something that in these days and time we wish we could even do more due to the economy. But that's what we're able to do, and that's what we're going to do for the next budget year. Ms. Angela?
Good morning, Commissioners. You are in receipt of 2 documents, our budget management recommendation and our resolutions that we have, and a budget brief. So we can go through those in great detail, or I can kind of highlight a few of those. So I will just kind of start off, and if you want to interrupt me, if you already have some questions, we can kind of go with that. We're real flexible with how we proceed. It is my pleasure to come to you today to present a balanced budget for your consideration and ultimate adoption. The 2023 budget was developed with the county's strategic goals in mind, which were published in November 2020. The priorities that are funded in the budget include a significant investment in the public infrastructure, promoting citizen-focused culture for accountability, consistent, efficient delivery of service, attracting, selecting, and developing and retaining our skilled, diverse workforce, and building the economic stability of the county and creating a culture of trust and financial transparency. Our budget process this year was adopted to comply with the Administrative Order 2021-1 and the County Manager Act. The budget process began in April 2022, and the budget packets were sent to the department. Initial recommendations based on revenue projections were communicated to Commission in early August. The budget hearings were held with the county manager and departments during the week of August 15th through 17th. Like I said, you should have received a budget brief and the BMO recommendations as a part of this agenda packet. I will be highlighting a few of those items from the packet. The total projected revenues for all funds is $818,372,640. The most significant source of revenues are taxes, which represent 54% of the county's revenues, primarily from sales tax and ad valorem taxes. We also have 33% of those for charges for services, which is primarily the sewer service charges. The general fund revenue from fiscal year 22 to 23 is an 8% increase in revenue. The total budget, as I said, is a 12% increase from the fiscal year 22 adopted revenues. The proposed budgetary appropriations for all funds is $962,149,935. $672 million of that is operating budget, and $289 million is capital budget.
Angela, say that number again.
The total is $962,149,935. Of that amount, the operating budget is $672,306,998. The capital budget is $289,842,937. The budget supports daily operations. The operating budget supports the daily operations of the county to provide efficient, basic governmental services to our citizenry. It includes salaries, benefits, supplies, and contracted services. In comparison of the general fund expenses, the fiscal year 22 budget expenditures are increased 7%. Priorities that are included in this budget recommendation: $1.4 million to fund 33 part-time school resource officers. That amount is covered by the school boards and will be reimbursed through a revenue contract. An increase in the sheriff's overtime budget of approximately $1.4 million. An investment in the aging inventory of cars for approximately $3 million. We also have funded the maintenance of the helicopter, leases for radios, body cameras, vehicle cameras, and automated external defibrillators. We also propose an operating increase of approximately $931,000. $810,000 of that relates to inmate food. $450,000 has been proposed for demolitions to assist with eliminating blight in Jefferson County. $400,000 has been included for the coroner's office in anticipation of a new facility. They would like to scan their items to make sure that they can reduce costs and make sure we maintain the medical records. An investment of $328,000 for youth detention to fund mental health initiatives and to purchase a records management software. An investment of $125,000 to fund the Family Resource Center for family court. Under our infrastructure, we are funding or proposing to fund our road capital fund of approximately $43.6 million. $27.9 million of that is related to the Alabama Transportation Infrastructure Bank, and that is a state-funded project. The road fund for operations is $37.3 million. They do a lot of paving. Heather and her team do an excellent job making sure they take care of the roads in the county. We also have included the tornado shelters for $1.9 million. As previously mentioned, our employees are our largest asset, and we have proposed that 5% COLA. We are also absorbing any increases in the healthcare costs and not passing that on to the employees. We are researching, our benefits package, and Dave and his team will be bringing some suggestions to the commission at a later date.
I have a couple of questions, Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon. So, what we got in terms of the sheriff's budget? Is that 1.4 carryover from what we did for the World Games?
No, ma'am, that's a new request.
Okay, all right. So where are we as it relates to have the sheriff provided verification of the additional dollars that were requested for the World Games? Has that been expended? And if so,
I believe that's just absorbed in this current year budget.
okay.
Where you had 70 or 80 vacancies.
Uh-huh.
So you have to, if you overran this overtime, it can be absorbed with that vacancy.
I just want.
We did increase additional 1.4 overtime.
Okay, I just wanted to know if we had something old and that it could be carried over, or if, did we utilize all of our, All right, so the other is this implementation of a new billing system for sewer customers. Is this in any way us investigating how we can split between water and sewer bills? I mean, what is that exactly?
Well, we have customers we bill, and David can actually better Mason tell when I'm myself, David, but we have customers that we have to bill on our own without hooking up water, so we need a new system for that. But David did a great job of getting a good system that can take care of all of our customers if need be. So this is a big program and a big new system that we're implementing.
But it has nothing to do with separation of the bills. This is just something of the current billing system that we're using that we're updating.
Right.
I know I said that fast. But you know, technology man said, Okay. All right. And so these tornado shelters, because we haven't had any on the list as it relates to several areas that we have in the district. How do we determine where these storm shelters will go for this storm?
Well, generally, they come to us and say, hey, we would like a shelter, so then we.
So like, for example, you have Jefferson, who doesn't have a city, that's unincorporated Jefferson County, yet they need one, right? Okay. City of Centerpoint is different because they're a municipality, and then they can come to us and make a formal request.
Wasn't it one of our
COVID
previous
did that.
the tornado tracks as they've been historically? There was an overlay of where maybe future ones would go. Was that Doc Hamilton that did that?
No, that was Jim Cook.
Okay. So we can designate based on consistent storm tracks, because there are some areas like Fultondale that get it a few times that those tracks were very similar.
Smithfield.
But in other words, like how City of Centerpoint was a part of what happened in Fultondale.
Right.
Okay, but they don't have a storm shelter. So what I'm asking is Jim the point of contact? Is that what I'm hearing, Jim Copeland?
Doc Hamilton does them, right?
Okay, so
That's a different tranche.
Different program.
That's a different
okay,
tranche.
so who
This
is
is-
our pathway here?
We work through Darrell Spell. It's with Dr. Hampton's group, but that's who the contact person is for a request for going to the shelter.
Okay.
And there are no more Taj Mahal shelters. The shelters now are the shells, the metal shells.
So in other words, you're saying that at this point, what's available is basic framework. That's it.
A tornado shelter, yes.
Okay. So when you refer to Taj Mahals, what is that?
That's the $1 million plus.
Dual use facility.
Okay.
Community.
But that was from a different, that was from a different qualifying entity. I mean, that was from the April 27th, 2011 tornado that money emanated from, right?
That's correct.
And that's what was used to build those big ones.
So then.
But that money is no longer available.
All right. So that being
So this is
said.
general fund money that we're putting in dedicated to tornado shelters.
Okay. So that being said, if Dr. Hamilton and Terrell, is that what you said?
Okay?
To them.
Tavell. Tavelle or without a
One
name?
L.
I'm sorry.
One L.
Daryl.
All right, I get it.
I would suggest if you.
So here's my point. Being that we know that Centerpoint was recently hit and Dosina has been waiting a while, is it possible that if we need to utilize some of our dollars to assist with what you all have, that, you know, if you can make them multi-use, then I don't see why you wouldn't.
These aren't multi-use facilities.
I understand. I'm trying to help make it multi-use.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. If we're willing to add district dollars to it in order to make it, you know, when communities wait a while, a long time to just get one, obviously if they can use it for multiple purposes, that's, you know, you would embrace that. But I'm saying not you per se, Joe. But I'm asking, is that doable?
It was based on the money. Now, the ones that we did with those federal funds, as the commissioner said, were $1 million facilities. These prefab have been $200,000 and $300,000.
some of them are up to 3.5, depending on what grading utilities they have to get to them.
Okay, but that's a conversation. But I'm just saying that I think that I can't speak for Commissioner Tyson, but I think that.
The goal is to provide as many of these shelters.
No, I'm not talking about money going toward it. What I'm talking about is the quality of it. So that's that. But I digress. I'm talking about me now. How about that? I'm just saying, if my folk wait for a while, then to me, you know, I just want to make sure that those that we try to build them out and try to make them very functional. Yeah, because when the government says basic, that's just exactly what it is, basic.
It's a storm shelter.
I understand. Make sure that we get together, Cal, with Dr. Hampton. Everybody.
Yeah.
I need to go out there and look at the ones in Jimmy's district and then determine, see how you want to, because
No, that's what I'm talking about. Not so much
So
of
those
Jimmy's
are-
district.
you know what I'm saying? Those are the ones that big in this building now. And that's what y'all about. Oh, I'm just wondering. Well, I'm just saying, that was called. I had that.
You know, you need to come out and do some of these things.
Well, now she know what I'm talking about.
I'll tell you right now, you can't have anything, it's all going to my district. Ain't nothing, good job, I appreciate you. Ain't nowhere, y'all don't even apply.
I was not saying that.
I
Well, here's another thing.
know. Hey, a lot of the hope of God, you don't have a tornado come through there like came through that district. And those are federal funds that built that.
But those, a lot of those tornado shelter community centers, we're starting to get back to where we have to maintain them now. Because the entity that we contracted with no longer wishes to or can pay you gotta pay the insurance, you gotta pay the power, you gotta pay the utilities. And so now that's falling back on us. And with these smaller shelters, those go to the entity and they take responsibility for
That's a good point, Commissioner. Everything we build has a tremendous year after year maintenance costs, roofs, air conditioners, so those that we're doing now would not put that burden on us. But I would also ask, Darren Lanier will be heading up that program, if you'll work through him, and then we'll bring the presentation to the commission as y'all vet these through, and then Tabell's helping us manage the actual construction.
And that's all that I'm saying, since we already have, as one of the commissioners that already dry snitched and said that someone has a precedent. All I want is I just want equality. I want to be on the record as saying that, and if it means that I need to assist with making that, I wouldn't call it a Taj Mahal, but I think that it needs to, it needs to stay in place. I mean, so Centerpoint was hit as well. And I know that when you're talking about an unincorporated Jefferson County, if we don't advocate for them to get it, they won't see it. So that's kind of where we're at. But I digress. That's the end of that. So I know who to contact as relates to that. This part right here, where the county will set aside funds and so forth to establish a trust for post-employment liability. Did you want to talk a little bit more about that, Joe?
we usually fund that at the end of the fiscal year,
Okay.
and we will do so this year, but
Okay.
we won't know until we close the books as to how much we'll put in that, in the budget, the reduction fund, the uncertainty fund, and the catastrophic fund. Those come at the end of the fiscal year.
What about youth detention?
We have included some mental health initiatives for youth detention and a software program. But Darren is working closely with Monique and her team.
But that's not even is that just a portion of what she was asking for?
Yes, that is a portion of what she's asking for. She asked for, I believe, 10 programs, and we funded 4 of them.
And to what dollar amount? And what dollar amount did she ask for, and what dollar amount are we funding?
Right now, we're funding about $328,000 out of the, I think it was $600,000 that she asked for.
About half of it, a little more than half.
So have y'all
This
checked-
year. Yeah.
With the problems that we're having with our youth, have we talked to Ms. Gear about would that be sufficient enough to kind of address some of the problems that we're having over there?
From talking with Monique, she said a large portion of the problems are mental issues, whether it be psychiatric care, psychosis. And so we looked at the the mental health parts of the program she was asking for that was funded. And she also needed a records management system to keep up with recidivism and some of the medicines that all of the, I won't call them inmates, residents get. And so this would help her keep up with that, a better record-keeping system for all of that.
So what we didn't fund?
We didn't fund, it was a big computer program or an app. It cost, I forgot the exact cost, but it required, the court to participate, the schools to participate, and all these different groups. So we just felt like until that situation is worked out legislatively that fixes the system, we invest in this big software and people still don't even participate in it, it's really not going to do that much value. So what we funded was the mental health contract to do analysis and treatment. And the part we didn't invest in was the program that really more is a legislative issue that Monique did such a good job pointing out earlier in the year.
You say you funded 3 out of what?
We actually funded 4 out of the 10.
And what's the other ones we did fund?
It was an Anchor for Tomorrow, It's called Anchor for Tomorrow. There's another Anchor for Tomorrow, Exodus Counseling, and then the Tutor Time for You, the Man System, which was I believe that was help them from threat or attacks from the residents. You got executive management level training program for the staff, and mental health pre-escalation apprehension tool, which is a piece of equipment. But the ones that she really needed was the ones that addressed the mental health issues with the residents, because there are times when they have to call in assistance to help them with somebody that's in a psychosis state.
And
Angela, were you done with your presentation?
I still have one more.
If you guys don't mind, if she could go ahead and finish, so we can, because I have some questions, but I wanted to wait until you're done, in case you cover it.
Okay. So under County Priority 4, where we are committed to build the economic stability of the county and create a culture of trust and financial transparency, we have continued to invest in the county's established economic development fund by transferring $10 million from the special sales tax revenue. The proposed budget recommendations are based on available current resources or our revenue projections. Our recommendation is to fund operations out of current year revenue and not draw on fund balance for governmental funds. We consider this to be prudent fiscal management. As Cal mentioned earlier, the county is proactively working to refinance the county's 2013 outstanding sewer warrants. The finance team has been assembled that consists of our financial advisors and underwriters along with county leadership. The county will work with this team to determine the best time to enter the market as we work to reduce the county's debt service. In the meantime, the county is working to increase its credit profile by budgeting conservatively, adding to reserves and fund balance. The county's budget office has been honored to receive the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association for 3 consecutive years. Special thanks to Selena, Marilyn, and Stephanie for getting that done. The reserve fund balance will continue to be funded out of the county surplus to continue to strengthen the county's fiscal position. As of September 30, 2021, the county had established 3 emergency cash accounts: the budget stabilization, economic uncertainty, and catastrophic event, with dedicated cash assets of approximately $45 million. The county's general fund has been strong for the last 5 years. The fund balance for 2017 was approximately $130 million, and as of September 30, 2021, that fund balance is $282 million. That fund balance has doubled in the last 5 years. We conservatively estimate adding approximately $4.1 million to the general fund balance for the proposed budget.
How much of that is unrestricted?
Let me get my notes. I think it was approximately $168 million as of September 2021.
21,
So you have 168 unrestricted.
okay, as of September 21.
You were looking at adding 4.1 conservatively to it this year.
Yes, in this budget, but as far as the 22, we'll decide as a part of the year-end process how much we're going to add to reserves. Yeah. So that's just for this budget process.
And the process for determining how much is a percentage, or is it just surplus? How is that determined on those funds? She was done. That was the last one.
Well, I have one more.
Okay, go ahead. See you there. Well, look, I'm going.
One more item.
I blame Jimmy.
You blame me.
Anyway.
You blame me, you had it in my Taj Mahal.
Sorry.
Well, just, I want to make sure that we highlight all of the great things that we're doing, at the county. So I also wanted to remind you all that the county has submitted its annual comprehensive financial report for the period ending September 30, 2021, for consideration and excellence in financial reporting as given by the Government Finance Officers Association. So,
Very good. Thank you.
I'm done. Unless we want to go into the
Mr.
BMO
Evans.
recommend.
Well, first of all, this is the overview and the brief that you've given us in writing and just now. I think it's the most that I've ever gotten here, and I really appreciate the effort and the work that went into it from you and your staff. This makes it so much easier to understand and see it align with the strategic priorities has been great. So going back, on the stabilization, economic uncertainty, and catastrophic funds. What's the methodology for how much goes into each one of those funds at the end of the year? When you have fund balance, what's the process or policy?
It varies on the amount left over after the end of the year. Sometimes it's 2 million, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's been as much as 5. So I mean,
But is it just the surplus?
Yes.
That goes
Also,
into it?
Commissioner, in 2020, the strategic plan, you passed a goal to increase it to 16%. And we've exceeded that goal. We're what, at roughly 19% now?
Yeah.
So y'all have grown.
16, or the percentage of budget, or percentage of what?
Go back and look at our.
The reserve
policy
fund,
that we
the
passed in
reserve-
2011. And we need to revisit that.
Expenses.
Yeah.
Percentage of the annual expenses.
Yeah.
We are.
So, that's a good methodology. But I think it's important. Whether it's something that's,
The question is, okay, when do we stop funding those? That was the
or is
question.
is based on something like CPI, how can you measure, is it appropriate? And then if there is some left over, then it actually could go towards funding capital or something else, or.
Based on the inflationary pressures we got last year, your $281 million lost $28 million.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at it that way. We actually backed up. If nothing else.
Other question I had, as it relates to indigent care, the increase, just validating, the increase was 8.1 million for the healthcare authority, going from 62 million to 70 million. Just validating that's all coming from that indigent care fund and none of it's in the general fund.
Yeah, anything that we transfer to the healthcare authority comes from the indigent care fund. And we have exceeded our projections, so that's why you'll see an increase in the transfers.
Perfect.
Inmate care.
As of May?
Inmate care.
Inmate care.
Inmate care. Did we ever determine what amount of general fund stress was coming to the sheriff's department for the inmate care?
I thought we funded that through indigent care.
There's a portion of it that comes out and goes to our general fund. And
The county has committed to the transfer of the $1.8 million out of the indigent care fund to the sheriff's office. As we are evaluating those costs, it is coming out of the sheriff's budget, any amount that exceeds that $1.8 million. Darren and I are going to be working with the sheriff's office to kind of better understand if there's anything that can be done to reduce those costs by working with the healthcare authority, UAB, just to make sure that we reduce those costs. But it is hitting the sheriff's budget, which is part of the general fund.
We've talked about letting Cooper Green manage that entire indigent care part. And it would be no stress at all on our general fund.
We do have, based on y'all's comments, we do have a task to see how we can go about doing that. We just haven't yet.
I think we did that years ago, that But back, it was back.
And it comes back, you turn your back, and it goes back to where it was.
Yeah.
You know, that's real dollars, that's dollars you can put on, storm shelter. You know, whatever. Because it's dollars that the healthcare authority is using, the UAB is using that actually should be spent on our indigent inmates.
I have a question.
Come through.
All right, so under priority, let me make sure that I got it correctly. I agree, you all did a wonderful job in denoting priorities so that we can be more strategic in how we do what we do. On these paid holidays, got paid holidays, and then there's one other I want to bring up. We, as a commission, approve the calendar, am I correct?
Yes, as part of the items that we will cover today.
So, just observation.
Item 2.
Okay, so just observation. That's probably not a budget discussion, but I wanted to make sure that we looked at some of the move-arounds that we had to do, like ACCA and some other stuff, that we look at that. But interim positions, that's for you, Cal. How many interim positions do we have? Okay.
I've got,
And the main ones, what I'm saying is, we have all of these interim folk in terms of the budget. We have them covered under this proposed plan that you have right now, right?
yes.
Like, for example, when one has to move around, and so you say, okay, well, here's a 5% increase, or whatever that is, it's based upon them doing whatever, right? Okay, so, they're already covered?
Yes.
Okay, so I know that, are there any interim positions in your office?
Yeah, right now, Darren is in.
Okay, are you seeking to make that position permanent?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and if so, is that reflected in this budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And so how long does it take to decide whether someone goes from interim to permanent?
Well, it doesn't take long to make that decision. It's decided we want to go to permanent. What takes us time is the assessment centers that we do. So we've got a vacant revenue director. Travis is retiring, the deputy revenue director. We've got a vacant deputy money manager at that position. We've got a vacant R&T deputy. We've got a vacant deputy. And so we have a backlog of positions that we're advertising for the HR director. So, and we have a schedule to get all those filled is about 12 months.
Okay.
So
But
we
you already
kind
have,
of
but you already have them properly funded in this budget.
Yes, ma'am, and actually, we come ahead because, like, for example, Darren, if he moves up as interim in my office, his position is still funded in the revenue department and is not being spent, so, you know, we're strapped for people, and the budget is definitely there.
So then let me ask this question. Let's just say if you don't find whatever positions that need to be filled, okay. So, if those positions are not filled, typically, what are those dollars? Because that's like a prorated amount, you know what I mean? If like within the first 6 months you don't find anyone, those dollars, they go back into general fund, stays in the department, how does it work?
It stays in that department's budget. And then at the end of the year, if it's not spent, it rolls up into the fund balance. Or like, you know, in the sheriff's case, the overtime, you know, over, and they spend some of that money on overtime.
Okay, say that to me one more time.
It stays in the department, and then at the end of the year, if it's still there, it rolls into fund balance as unspent money.
But it would behoove us that as many interim positions that we can move into a permanent position would be
Yes, ma'am.
would be helpful.
What speeds up that process?
What speeds up that
It
process?
sounds like he's saying some sort of assessment, right?
Yeah,
Let me jump in here. One of our processes before we is that we do an assessment center for all of our department heads, and that of course depends on scheduling and time with HR to develop those programs and have folks do those assessments. So those positions are filled based on the assessment center. So the County Manager Act has, with the exception of the deputy county managers, we have determined all department heads and deputy department heads will go through the assessment center. So that's based on that process that we go through. So
You said that's legislative?
no, that's our county process is based on our consent decree, basically. That's the decision we made.
We've been removed from that, though.
Yeah, but that's a decision that the commission made relative to those selections. Correct.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Do that include the deputy county manager office?
Deputy county managers are statutorily done. So that actually, when we move from the consent decree, the deputy county managers and county manager staff are based on statute and how that's filled. The county manager does a selection on how he does those. We have determined that because we had our directors and deputy directors who were formerly merit system people, that we have the process for that is absolutely that we go through the assessment centers and making those assessments.
we are working on streamlining the assessment center, where we can do more at one time.
So-
We're working on that right now, we got to get quick.
So the legislative law that was put in place for the county manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are we following the complete rules of that?
Absolutely.
Are you sure we are?
Absolutely.
So one last question. I won't say last, but I know that with our youth detention center, two questions that I have as relates to that. I know that Judge Hilliard has been working on this project for a while as relates to the acquisition of Eagleton School. Were there any dollars asked as relates to the county's support in that regard?
11 million.
11 million? So,
And that we went and looked at it years ago, and there's no way you can, it just wasn't a good fit. We looked at several other places. We looked at the JCCEO building that came offline. And so Judge Hilliard, to her credit, has moved the Family Resource Center into her at the family court building out there. And they're operating out of there.
so the Eagleton School project is no more.
Correct.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct.
I thought it would have been an excellent project if it could be realized.
Yeah, but it's a lot of.
Yeah, and this goes basically in the flood zone, it's just not a good site.
Well, I don't know about being in a flood zone, even though I attended the school. But, yeah. Huh?
It's bad.
Well, it's blight in the community, I can tell you that. It's a big, humongous building, but I just was hoping that that would have turned it.
There is they did have asked $125,000 for aspects of the resource center they got, and it is in the budget.
So then let me ask this question. There's some program that they have that deals with music.
And what?
It comprises of music, where they're teaching the children communicative skills, communication skills. Okay, I don't need to make the word harder than what
Have
it
you
is.
been through the course?
I get paid to go through that course, sir. All right. So that being said, did we also include that in this? Is that included in this budget?
I don't know about the music aspect, but the request they had is included in here.
What about the three positions she asked for? Was that included in the three positions she asked for?
No, they were not.
Why didn't you?
We don't we didn't make any recommendation for new positions, but some of the items that you all are referring to have not been communicated to the budget office, so we were not made aware
I
of
know
those
those
asks.
three positions were, because that's one of the, those were the three main positions that they was.
What positions were they?
I cannot, can you get it on, answer? I'm going to answer those three positions, but I know for a fact that those were three of the main positions that they were, requiring back when we was going over the budget with them, and they was asking for the, reconstruction of their, youth detention center,
Is that family court or youth detention that we're
youth
at?
detention.
Youth detention.
Yes,
It's the administrative analyst position, a senior recreation leader, and a food service specialist.
Yes, those three.
Yes, ma'am. And what we did was, we're going through that process now of deleting a JDO and giving her the administrative position because she said that's the one she really needed, because she's having to do those services herself right now. And so,
You're not gonna fund those other three.
we are working through our revamping the hiring process to make sure that we get the right people at the county. So we wanted to kind of slow down with adding new positions and focus on filling those vacancies that are currently outstanding.
That's in youth detention.
I think she has some vacancies already.
yeah, she has about, she had 7 JDOs and 2 senior JDO positions, in which we're trying to fill right now.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
For David Dinner, the landfill gone up significantly, 5.3 million. Was that for repair or
We put money in for the Shannon landfill.
that's what I heard?
How much?
$5.5 to $6 million.
That's the reflection.
5397. Okay, that was it.
And that is to redo the, what, David?
Shannon
That's
landfill.
yeah, take all the vegetation off the cap, redo the cap, fix some of the side slopes.
And is that the result of just time? Or is that something that, why are we having to do that?
Well, ultimately, I think we'll have to look at a long-term maintenance on that, as part of the general fund. But, yeah, I do think we probably need to look at some options about how we do maintenance out there, and maybe some opportunities for us to look at a public use for that would help do that, so, you know.
Okay.
Was that involved in annexation into a city?
If there's opportunities for a city to sort of turn that into a green space, after we do all the work on it.
Playing fields?
I'd hate to put $6 million into something and then it just sort of be, you know, a clear open space and something like that.
I got just the guy for it.
There's some opportunity there. That would also take care of that maintenance part as well.
Let me ask this. I'm sorry. Let me go. Okay, so in this particular document right here, right, I'm referring to this exhibit. All right, so on the second page of this document, this represents the dollars that are currently in those line items. Would I be accurate in saying such?
Yes.
It's the budget resolution by
Yeah.
line. This is
Okay. So, yeah, as a part of the budget process, we have to adopt the
Yeah, what the
resolution by
existing balance
funds.
is.
Yes, so basically, we've been discussing the operating and capital budget, and this is the formal document that's needed, so Lena and Marilyn can post these items in our munis system. So it's by fund.
But yes, to your question.
That's the question, answer. Okay, so that being said, right now, we are, in terms of economic development fund, for example, we have $3,322,823. And then when we feel that account. am
That's
I-
actually under Dr. Hamilton's area.
That's a different.
Somebody economic development?
Yeah, this one, that's the
This is not.
3.3. We are funding the.
So that's
economic
community,
development.
now, I'm sorry, excuse me, no, then forgive me. I'm at economic development fund.
That's the same, that's Dr. Hamilton.
Economic development fund?
Correct.
Why?
It's workforce, we should have changed the
Yeah.
name.
That's no sport portion.
So where are the economic development funds as relates to on this
It
document?
would be included in the general fund.
Jefferson County Economic Development Fund.
Where's the second?
Okay, so if, well then,
Oh, it's, okay.
are you saying, Angela, we're at $10 million as we speak?
We add 10 million
There's
every
more- There's
year.
more than that.
That's not.
I know, I'm trying to find out how much is in there.
It rolls over. I haven't looked at it for a while. But
Yeah,
we can pull back we can add 10 million this next year.
Right.
I'm sure, and then we also have everything that's currently coming out of it, so.
So you got 20 million dollars here. Workforce.
After this, yeah.
3.3, okay, yeah.
You got 20 million workforce.
Workforce,
No,
okay.
it's grant.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I got you, Tim.
It got more than that.
so is that,
Tell me about story.
I know, I'm
So-
gonna get into it.
so is that what I'm hearing, that, do you know the balance on that,
That's-
I can look it up from last year's audit, and then we've had some,
Come out, let's go one at a time. What's your question?
So I'm asking, you'll be able to give me what the balance of that is in that account before we add the 10 additional dollars?
I can give you the balance as of the audit, and then we also have some actions that we've taken over the last year, so I would want to update the spreadsheet to accommodate those additional approvals that kind of
I
happened.
don't think it accounts for the last, what we did with Kratos and Southern Research and the big day that we had. I don't think it accounts for all of that, and then out over how many years, so it's encumbering it for a number of years.
Okay. Lastly is about roads. So what did we have in terms of roads last year? I noticed that on here, again, I'm only going by what I see, and I hope I'm reading it correctly. Is that $37,356,700? Is that correct? I'm referring to this document, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, but that includes some capital funding. or not?
I'm referring to this document, second page.
The resolution.
Because, I'm sorry. The reason why I'm asking is because I know that, we all need additional road projects. And are you comfortable, Heather, with where we are in terms of monies allocated, proposed dollars to be utilized for road construction?
So the proposed budget amounts were supportive of the same capital projects that were approved by the commission and then our operating targets for the year.
Okay. So, in other words, what I'm trying to see is where we are versus what we're proposing. And I know that you said that in this document here, you referenced that, so please excuse my ignorance. So, what did we have, Ms. Dixon? It appears here, this $37 million is where we are currently, am I correct?
That's the road operating fund, and that is an increase in the prior year of $4 million. And then we also have the capital roads construction fund, which is towards the bottom. That's the $43.6 million, which is an increase of $27 million from prior year.
Okay. So you had me to refer to road fund and what's the other?
Capital roads construction.
Okay. All right.
It's
So-
substantially higher.
Right, well, it needs to be. I'm just saying, so if we're already at 43 million, what are we proposing in this upcoming budget?
And over here.
The 43 million is what we're recommending in the current budget. The prior budget was 16 million in 22.
Right.
Okay, so at first we were at 16 million, is that what I'm hearing?
22
Were you at 22 million?
last year.
Last year's budget was
16.
It's 16.
Alright, let me make sure I'm hearing it. Anytime we talk about money, it gets very distracting. Alright, so let me make sure. Last year was 16 million. This time we're proposing an additional, what is that, 13.7, so what is that, like, $27 million?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's why I said, no, I can add it, I just need to get it in my brain what you're doing. So we're adding 27 million additional dollars. And then you're gonna provide some sort of report so that we know where these $27 million are gonna be realized throughout Jefferson County, right?
That's part of the 5-year plan, so each one of those projects listed in that 5-year plan and funded in 2023 are included in that total.
Did she include the, in case it was, increase in, material, did you have to rebid anything?
So our operating is where the vast majority of those contracts sit, and there's a $4 million increase that try to balance that forecast, and hopefully it doesn't go above the forecast, but we think we have that pretty well covered.
So we should get, if you had to forecast, would you probably say that we should have good mileage of roads to be covered this year, this upcoming fiscal year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're continuing to work toward that target.
What's your target?
So
How many miles of roads you think we can get paid?
The annual commitment target is 130 miles, and we're on target. We have a little over 80 miles self-performed this year, and then we have our contract paving that was also put out, so that adds to the totals. We also have the on-call paving contract that was funded and added to that, which will help support some of that work. Truck drivers are always a challenge, and that has a direct impact on what we can get done. But
Did you bid that out where if a city needs some paving, they can use our contracts?
yeah, so we can allow them to leverage that through cooperative IGAs. Yeah.
Very good.
All right. That's it?
I mean, just being very clear that we were talking about inflation costs, so you've already kind of encumbered enough where that would be able to take care of itself.
We forecasted, and we've added some contingency fund. Our fuel, we estimated at $7 a gallon, so hopefully we don't see anything but that.
What was your asphalt bid price a year ago versus now?
The original price was $44 a ton. We're up over 70 now. So it really is tied very closely to crude oil prices, and that affects our oil, our asphalt, our fuel delivery. So it doesn't take much of an oil increase to significantly impact that.
Okay, but at some point, like I said, once we get through this, then you're going to show us where these roads that you all have already assessed, and you know, and have basically placed in your forecasting that we will see in our district.
Yep, we'll share that.
Yeah, because that's the reason why I wanted to make sure between public safety and roads that is adequately funded and not at a bare minimum, because if we want all these roads and bridges to be accomplished in our district, then we have to make sure that it's funded. No project is a project without money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
I have one question about senior citizen, services. Why was it reduced by 5K?
That was a request from Dr. Hamilton to reduce that. So.
Why was it reduced?
Well, what we were proposing to do was add 5,000. We were giving each center, the 32 centers, 10,000. We're still giving them the 10. We were proposing to give them an additional 5. Decided not to do.
And they decided, who decided not to do it? What, they don't need it? I know they need it, because I go over there.
I think there was some question about responsibility and trying to carve out what the county's responsible for versus the, I mean, I'll let you speak a little bit more, but I thought there was still some research related to.
Well, most of that $10,000 has been used for the senior manager, but they have some additional expenses on top of that. So we thought that might be a good idea. If we can get it, we'll take it.
I know, because they asking me for it, so you need to be trying to get it.
We'll take it. We'll get it.
So we need to be discussing that for real. Because they come to me for additional funding.
Me too. I get to it.
Right.
Any other questions?
But I ain't gonna give all
I'd like
that.
to move it to the agenda. Good, job well done.
What are you moving to the
Don't be
agenda?
rushing,
I'm moving the budget.
don't be rushing me when I'm talking. And I still wanna answer about the senior citizen service. I still ain't got that.
What's your question? There was a reduction in,
It was a reduction, I wanna try, and I wanna see, what can we do about that?
I mean, I'm gonna defer to, Dr. Hamilton was the one who reduced it, so, we,
What we were trying to do at one point, because we had community centers and we had the storm shelters, and there was some confusion about who's responsible for what when it came down to the storm shelters and when it came down to community centers. The community centers, and then you have those dual-purpose community centers. And the $10,000 was allocated to the community centers, which they did get, the senior centers, I'm sorry, which they did get, and then the county owns, 5 storm shelters? And so there was some confusion about who did what, because everybody was calling the county saying, fix this and fix that. And the $10,000, from my understanding, was that it was going to be used to take care of those repairs, and the only repairs that general services were responsible for was the actual structural part of the center and not the mechanical stuff.
That was the storm shelter, not the center.
Well, the storms, the actual senior centers, they had the $10,000 to take care of the needs of that center. And then I think they were using it also for other means where they were generating money from. They were supposed to take and send a report to finance and the county manager's office as to the income that
Well,
was
senior
generated.
citizen centers has nothing to do with the storm shelters, because I know Hopewell is in the church and that ain't no storm shelter.
No, man, I was just trying to make a distinction about what we were looking at.
What can we, because they do need an increase of more than $10,000. We leave them over there, and just put them away, don't have transportation to go nowhere. So what we gonna do?
Let me ask this question. So,
Give you $1.6 million
But
for your district fund.
that ain't enough, it still ain't enough.
so let me ask the question.
You don't have to worry about nothing like that, because
Is
you're
the
taking care of them Taj Mahal.
that we're lacking? Is that the question? We're lacking 5,000?
Yeah, how many senior centers? It's 33,
32.
32 senior centers
Right.
times 5.
Thank you, quit it, John.
Okay, I'm sorry.
that's 16,000,
Say it again. You told me that, you said that's 33?
32 senior centers and times
So
5,000.
32 times 5,000? All right, so it's 160? Isn't that what I had? Isn't that what you had? 160?
in my head I did, but I'm not sure. I got my
So here's what I will propose to do. I agree with Commissioner Tyson that we need to do some things about it. But what I would look to do is that Dr. Hamilton, if you can delineate those facilities that are in Commission 1,
Yes.
then I'm going to see about how I can be able to assist in that regard. We'd like to have those additional dollars, but based upon some things that we've done, and these have to be, if I'm correct, they have to be community dollars. They can't be infrastructure dollars to be used. Am I correct? And based on these senior centers, these are basically for programming, am I right?
I think that would be
So-
part of the community, yeah.
Yeah, so it would have to be community, not infrastructure, am I correct? Okay, so Dr. Hamilton, if you can assist in that regard, that's not to negate what the commissioner said, because I agree, certainly, every dollar that we can do to preserve the senior population, we need to do that. But, yeah, and you said in that reduction in that amount came from what? The reduction, I'm sorry. So you said a reduction came at the request of?
Yeah, and if, I don't know,
The last year it was $10,000, right?
yeah, and I think.
It's always been 10,000.
A while.
It wasn't really a reduction there. It was just-
Well, the initial request, I think that Dr. Hamilton put out there, increased it by 5, and then he came back and changed the request. So there's $160,000. So if the commission is interested in increasing that, we'll take direction from you all.
Yes.
So,
It need to come out of this budget.
oh, I get it, but I just want to make sure that if we move in this vein, what line item you suspect that we can be able to deduct the necessary amount from without throwing off the entire budget? What dollars you think we can realize to be able to accomplish?
I mean, it's up to the commission if that's what you want. We'll just reduce the amount of fund balance that we're proposing.
Say it again.
I'm sorry.
Come out of reserves.
Okay, so let me hear Dr. Hamilton. So are we still at 10,000, but you had asked maybe for 15,000 due to inflation?
Okay.
And so we just needed to cover those additional dollars as it relates to that. Okay, well, we're coming out of COVID, I think, for the most part, and Ms. Williams has been doing an excellent job as it relates to providing these seniors with various activities. And all of us can support those folks that we know are going to be active in the community. That being said, is our reserve, the reserve fund is the only fund that we can look at in order to be able to get this 160,000?
We can cut commission offices.
Okay.
We
Don't look at me.
We can cut anything.
No, I
to
mean,
balance
you
it
can
out.
have whatever you want. I'm just saying, is there an easy path that we can explore
Dr. Hamilton.
that won't shift it all the way?
Dr. Hamilton, what was your reason for requesting the 15,000?
Because of the expenses that come up for each of those centers, and they basically use those dollars for the senior manager. But, the utility, they still have utility bills and other expenses that they have to take care of.
Okay. So I have a motion to increase the senior citizen allocation to each senior citizen center from 10,000 to 15,000 per center. And there, how many centers?
32.
32
So moved.
centers. I have a motion from, okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Do you know where those funds are coming from? Or is that just?
Put it out. Angela says she'll find it.
Reserves.
She gonna find it, yeah.
Could you say aye? So that they can hear you.
I got 2 ayes and 2
Yes.
nothings.
Oh, yeah.
No, well, we got the one that proposed it in the 2 ayes, made 3 ayes, and for those who didn't say anything, we're gonna say silence is consent. So then you got all 5 votes.
Can I move the budget, man?
All right, I think that's a passed item on the 15,000 for each.
So let me, so, wait a minute. So hold on. Hold
You have to count the votes.
Well, I'm asking what the
I didn't
votes are.
vote.
Okay, so that's what I got, 2s.
I abstained.
I'll abstain too until we know exactly where it's coming from. If it's coming
Well,
from
how come we can't do
reserves.
fund, how come we can't do fund balance? Yeah, why we can't do fund balance?
There's an amount we budgeted to put into reserves. We can simply reduce that amount by the 160.
It's still coming out of surplus
Yes.
or unexpended budget. It's
It
not
ain't
really
got a
surplus, it's
surplus yet.
unexpended budget.
Yes.
It's not in there yet,
But then,
so it's not in there yet.
Yeah, we're not doing, but you spend all of it, right?
yeah,
You
Well, how
start.
come we can't do fund balance? Wouldn't that be easy?
Well, that's
it would be easy, but it also sets a precedent of hitting that instead of putting it in reserves. Now, kind of my point earlier is if there's a process and a methodology of, if you're using CPI or, using that percentage, after you fund the reserves, if there's surplus left over after that, then you can use that for special projects or other stuff. And we just don't have that process in place right now.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Call roll.
Commissioner Ammons,
I'm going to abstain.
Commissioner Knight,
Abstain.
Commissioner Scales,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Abstain.
All right,
So it's still
That didn't
bad?
pass there.
Well, how come it wouldn't? Because you got 3 abstentions. That means you didn't participate in the process.
And we paid.
And you have two that voted in the affirmative.
Had the 15.
Thank you, we praise you for that from the city of Birmingham.
And keep it moving.
Yeah, so thank you for abstaining. God bless you. It was a great day in Jefferson County.
And don't forget, you're gonna need that center one day.
Oh, no. All we need for it to get to the agenda, Madam Commissioner. So I thank the Lord for these three folk that abstained today. That's beautiful.
Yep.
I'm prepared in a minute. In about 15 years.
Yeah, it's big. All right.
So, Commissioners, we have the operating capital budget, which I think has been moved or has not been moved. So we have the operating capital budget, which we have discussed. We have the holiday schedule. We have 13 paid days off, and then the one variable holiday. Item number 3 is the resolution for the health department's budget. Item number 4 is the equipment shop charges effective October 1st, 2022. Item number 5 is the commuting vehicle usage by department for 22-23. Item number 6 is our transfer resolutions that are a part of this budget process, and item number 7 is the salary adjustment for the 5% COLA. Do we have any questions on any of those items?
Do I have a motion 1 through 7?
1 through 7.
Have a motion? Second. Have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
2 abstain.
You abstain?
You abstain again?
You abstain.
Wow.
You did, you did.
I did abstain. I'm actually trying to find my paperwork. That's why I'm like, Joe, you
Come on,
took
guys. Little levity here. Hold roll.
Go ahead, I don't need it.
I'm saying,
You say yes?
Yes.
What else you want?
Commissioner Knight.
Aye.
Yes.
Commissioner Stanton. Commissioner Tyson.
Aye.
Commissioner Stitt.
I'm just making sure. We don't
You
want
have
to
5 yeses.
Oh, he got it.
What did you
This over here, this is right.
Oh, it ain't yours.
And I believe so.
I can't keep up with you. Still don't have it.
Hold on. Not believe it.
All right, now I have human resources items 1 through 3, employment agreement, Director of General Services. Do I have a motion?
I'll move 1 through 3.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor,
Aye.
please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
You got my stuff. Preemption, you got it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Really, really good job.
Really good. We appreciate it.
And thank you to Travis.
Travis said he was going to
There you go. Hire me. No. Nothing out of your mouth. This point forward. No retirement.
Travis, we now accept you, sir.
I'll be sure.
I'm a jerk.
I'm a jerk.
I don't know if y'all are. Any other? No, we didn't go in.